Gifted Education, A Waste of Talent by Alex Johnson. Firstly, before I begin, here's some context as to what I'm about to talk about. All throughout our nation, there are a multitude of gifted programs. These are best defined as the education of children who have been identified as gifted or talented with approaches of enrichment and acceleration. The gifted programs can be focused on many things, such as helping athletic students thrive in their sport, or creative kids fulfill their artistic desires. Often, though, they are centered upon intellectual achievement. Students are noticed to be adept to critical thinking and problem solving, and are then selected to be in these gifted programs. A classroom often looks like a small group of peers similar to them. However, these programs don't have the outcome intended due to systematic failure. Firstly, these programs are far too selective. Only 6 to 8% of students are admitted into these programs. This is designed with the intent that the students grow academically around other gifted students. This, however, has drastic defects. Firstly, they are socially disadvantaged. They are only exposed to a very small group of students in the classroom. They have such little social experience that students become used to it and don't necessarily crave one in the future. They are not resilient, and this often leads to a lack of a social life. Secondly, an article by Katja Cozier, a renowned psychologist, is quoted as saying, "Being labeled as gifted increases the risk of peer stigmatization and can thus lead to emotional distress." This brings me to other issues of the exclusivity of these programs. These are depression, perfectionism, and stress. Firstly, gifted students are shown to be far more depressive. The average students are around 50% healthy and 12% vulnerable to depression. Gifted students, however, are only 30% healthy and 18% vulnerable, which has been proven in a study by Edmund Balilashek. Secondly, gifted students have been shown to be susceptible to perfectionism. While this in moderation is a good thing, it causes them to be less resilient to work that is not perfect. They have adverse reactions and leads to anxiety and stress. Stress is another defect of selectiveness of gifted education. The weight of living up to the title of being gifted is extremely stressful and can have long-term effects. All things taken into consideration, the limited number of students in these programs leads to the children to be socially inadequate and mentally unstable. The next most obvious issue in gifted education is that they lack diversity. Sarah Sparks, an editor of Education Weekly, determined that only 1 in 4 gifted African American students are noticed to be admitted into these programs. This not only harms the black students left out, but also the students in the programs because they are unprepared for the very diverse real world and are culturally deprived. Only 8.4% of students in gifted education are African American. A bunch of data shows how disadvantaged they really are. A big reason as to why there are so little black students in these programs is due to the lack of support in the community. 4 times percent of black children live in poverty to white children. This results in a very limited outreach of these programs, and furthermore, little opportunity to be exposed to them or get the same experience. There are 2 solutions to the problems at hand that can completely eradicate the flaws of gifted education. Firstly, the programs could shift their curriculum. Professor Barrington is quoted to mention that creativity and leadership are often left out of the teaching. If initially the programs directed their ambition to look for students successful in these qualities, and then further implement it into their education, students wouldn't only live in an academic environment. They would be exposed to a more varying group of peers and would be set up in the real world. The second solution is increasing admission. Right now, as I said, only 6 to 8% of students are in gifted programs. Changing this to somewhere around 10 to 12% or even more could make crazy changes. It would solve the social deficiencies of these students, as the students would be exposed to a greater amount of people. Additionally, they would be shown work that is not as perfect, and not only being around perfect students, and stress levels would drop. Additionally, more diversity would come with. Admission would reach more communities, and both the minorities that would have been left out and the culturally deprived students would be assisted. There is, however, a limitation of solution 2, increasing admission. These programs are selected for a reason. The organizations try to only have these students interact with other highly intellectual kids in order to accentuate the gifts. Allowing more students in could make the efforts redundant. I refute this in saying that selectiveness does more harm than good. All data shown, such as the mental instability and lack of social life, is far worse than the possible damping the gifted experience by a little bit. If done right, increasing admission could fix gifted education. In conclusion, the two biggest problems identified are that they're too selective and undiverse, and solutions include expanding curriculum and increasing admission.